The fluorescent lights of Mercy Hospital's emergency department buzz with their familiar hum, casting everything in that particular shade of institutional white that makes exhaustion look like death. I've been on my feet for 11 hours straight, and my lower back screams with every step I take toward the nurse's station. "Claire, you're up. Trauma Bay 3. Doctor." Reyes doesn't even look up from his tablet as he slides a chart across the counter. I grab it, scanning the sparse details while my tired brain tries to catch up. Male, late 30s to early 40s, multiple lacerations, possible fractured ribs, refusing ambulance transport, walked in on his own. The last part makes my eyebrows rise. Someone with those injuries walked themselves into the ER. He insists on a private room, Dr. Reyes adds, still focused on his screen. And he's got 2 guys with him who look like they eat nails for breakfast. Just patch him up and get him out. We've got a multi-car pileup coming at 20. Great. Another Friday night in Manhattan. I push through the curtain of Trauma Bay 3 and stop short. The patient sits on the edge of the gurney with a posture so straight it could have been measured with a ruler, despite the blood soaking through his white dress shirt. His suit jacket, expensive enough to pay my rent for 3 months, hangs on the IV pole, somehow still pristine. But it's not the blood or the expensive clothes that make my breath catch. It's his eyes. They're the color of dark amber, almost black in the harsh lighting, and they fix on me with an intensity that makes every hair on my arm stand up. His face is all sharp angles, strong jaw shadowed with stubble, dark hair pushed back from a high forehead. There's something aristocratic about his features, something that speaks of old money and older power. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. 2 men flank him like bookends. Both wearing dark suits, both built like they could bench press a car, both watching me with the kind of alert stillness that sets off alarm bells in my head. I'm Claire Mitchell, your nurse tonight. I keep my voice steady, professional, as I set up my supply tray. I need to assess your injuries before the doctor can see you. No doctor. His voice is deep, accented with something I can't quite place. Italian, maybe, or Greek. Just you. Sir, hospital protocol requires... I don't care about protocol. He doesn't raise his voice, but somehow the words carry absolute authority. You'll treat me, or I'll leave. I should argue, should insist on protocol, on calling Dr. Reyes, on doing everything by the book. Instead, I find myself moving closer. My clinical training overriding my common sense. Fine, I hear myself say. But if I think you need a doctor, we're calling one. Non-negotiable. Something that might be amusing flickers across his face. Fair enough. I pull on latex gloves and begin unbuttoning his ruined shirt. His hands close over mine, stopping me. The contact sends an electric shock up my arms that has nothing to do with fear. Or maybe everything to do with it. Them, he says, nodding toward his guards. Out. The 2 men exchange glances. One of them, older with silver at his temples, starts to protest in rapid Italian. My patient responds in the same language, his tone leaving no room for argument. They leave. And suddenly, I'm alone with a man who radiates danger like other people radiate body heat. You speak Italian? He asks as I finish unbuttoning his shirt. No. But I know an order when I hear one. I carefully peel the fabric away from his skin, trying not to cause more pain. What's your name? Does it matter? It does if I'm going to be cutting your clothes off. That almost smile again. Dante Caruso. The name tickles something in my memory, but I'm too focused on the wound to pursue it. His torso is a roadmap of old scars, some surgical, others definitely not. But the fresh injuries are what concern me now. 3 deep lacerations run along his left side, following the curve of his ribs. Clean cuts, too precise to be accidental, knife wounds. And beneath them, his ribs are swollen, mottled with bruising that's already turning purple. This needs stitches, I say, reaching for antiseptic. And we should x-ray those ribs. No x-rays, no records. His eyes never leave my face. Can you stitch it? Yes, but then do it. I should refuse, should call security, call the police, do something besides, enable whatever illegal situation this clearly is. Instead, I find myself preparing a suture kit. This is going to hurt, I warn, loading a syringe with local anesthetic. I can numb the area, but the injection itself, I don't need it. I pause, syringe in hand. You want me to stitch you up with no anesthetic? I've had worse. The casual way he says it sends a chill down my spine. I set the syringe aside and thread the curved needle. Your funeral. But if you pass out, I'm calling a doctor. I won't pass out. He doesn't even flinch as I make the first stitch, pulling the edges of the wound together with careful precision. His breathing stays even, controlled, his hands relaxed on his thighs. The only sign of pain is a slight tightening around his eyes. Where did you learn to sew? He asks after I've completed several sutures. Nursing school. I tie off another knot. Before that, medical school. Before? I don't answer, focusing on my work. But he doesn't let it go. You were in medical school, he says. Not a question. What happened? Life happened. The words come out sharper than I intend. Why? You need a surgeon instead of a nurse? I need someone competent. You seem competent. Thanks for the ringing endorsement. His lips twitch. You're not afraid of me. Should I be? Most people are. I tie off the Maunus. 7th stitch, checking my work before starting the next. Most people probably don't spend their Friday nights elbows deep in other people's blood. You want to tell me how this happened? No. Knife fight? Something like that. The other guy? Won't be a problem anymore. The finality in his voice makes my hands still for just a moment. When I look up, his eyes are on mine, and I see something ancient and cold in their depths. Something that confirms every instinct, screaming that this man is dangerous. I go back to stitching. You're not going to ask what I mean by that? He says. I don't think I want to know. Smart woman. We lapse into silence. I work methodically, placing 17 stitches in total before I'm satisfied with the closure. His skin is warm under my gloved fingers, his breathing steady despite what must be significant pain. These need to stay dry for 48 hours, I say, cleaning the area and applying a sterile dressing. Change the bandage daily. Watch for signs of infection, redness, heat, increased pain, discharge. The stitches should come out in 10 to 12 days. You'll remove them, I blink at him. You can go to any urgent care. No. You'll remove them. He stands carefully, wincing slightly as the movement pulls at his freshly stitched side. You did this work. You'll finish it. That's not how this works. He reaches into his jacket pocket and withdraws a money clip, thick with $100 bills. How much? I'm not taking your money. Everyone takes money. He peels off several bills. This is for your time, your discretion, and your agreement to finish what you started. I said no. His eyebrows rise, genuine surprise crossing his features. You're refusing payment for medical services? I'm refusing payment that feels like hush money. I strip off my gloves and toss them in the biohazard bin. You need antibiotics. I can write you a prescription. I have my own sources. Of course you do. I grab a clean shirt from the supply closet, one of the generic ones we keep for patients. Here. You can't walk out in a bloody shirt. He takes it but doesn't put it on yet. Instead, he studies me with that unnerving intensity. What's your full name, Claire Mitchell? Why? Because I want to know who saved my life tonight. I didn't save your life. Those weren't life-threatening injuries. Perhaps, but you could have called the police, could have reported suspicious wounds, could have done many things that would have complicated my evening significantly. He finally pulls on the shirt, moving carefully. Instead, you treated me with skill and discretion. That's worth knowing a name. Before I can respond, my pager goes off. The multi-car pileup, arriving now. I have to go, I say, moving toward the curtain. Claire. I turn back. He's fully dressed now, his ruined shirt wadded up and hidden inside his jacket. In the generic hospital shirt and his expensive suit pants, he looks almost normal. Almost. Thank you, he says simply. Then he's gone, slipping through the curtain with his guards materializing from wherever they'd been waiting. I hear low voices in Italian, footsteps receding down the hallway. I stand alone in the trauma bay, my heart hammering against my ribs, wondering what the hell just happened. It's only later, during my break at 3 a.m, that I Google the name, Dante Caruso. The search results make my blood run cold. Suspected head of the Caruso crime family. Under investigation for racketeering, money laundering, and conspiracy. No convictions, no arrests that stuck. but a reputation that spans decades. His father built an empire in New York's underworld. Dante expanded it, made it untouchable, and I just stitched him up in Trauma Bay 3. I close my laptop with shaking hands. This is fine. It's a one-time thing. He'll go to his own doctor for the stitch removal, and I'll never see him again. Except when I get home at 6 a.m. to my tiny studio apartment in Queens. There's a black car parked across the street. And when I glance out my window an hour later, unable to sleep, it's still there. I don't sleep. How can I, knowing there's a car full of God knows who watching my building? Instead, I pace my tiny apartment, phone in hand, debating whether to call the police, and tell them what, that a suspected mob boss had me stitch him up, and now there might be someone watching my apartment. That's a great way to lose my nursing license, and possibly end up as a witness in a federal investigation. At 8 a.m, exhausted and jittery from too much coffee, I peer through my curtain again. The car is gone. I convinced myself I imagined the whole thing. Paranoia brought on by exhaustion and the unsettling encounter with Dante Caruso. I shower, change into clean clothes, and try to catch a few hours of sleep before my evening shift. I'm finally drifting off when my phone rings. Unknown number. I should let it go to voicemail. Instead, I answer, "Hello? Miss Mitchell." That voice, accented and deep, unmistakable even over the phone. "I trust you made it home safely." My heart slams against my ribs. "How did you get this number?" "That's not important. What's important is that you understand the situation." "What situation?" I sit up, wide awake now. "Was that your car outside my building?" "For your protection." "I don't need protection. I need you to leave me alone." A pause. "I'm afraid that's no longer possible." Something in his tone makes my stomach drop. "What do you mean?" "The men I was with last night, the ones who caused my injuries, they saw you. They know you treated me. That makes you a person of interest." "A person of interest to who?" "To people who would use you to get to me." His voice remains calm, matter of fact. "I've taken steps to ensure your safety, but I need you to cooperate." "Cooperate how?" "Don't go to work today. Pack a bag. My men will pick you up in 1 hour. "Excuse me?" I'm on my feet now, anger cutting through the fear. "You can't just order me around. I have a job. I have a life. Which will be very short, if Konstantin Volkov's people find you first." The name means nothing to me, but the weight he gives it makes my skin prickle. Who is Konstantin Volkov? Someone who wants me dead, and who now knows that a nurse at Mercy Hospital patched me up instead of letting me bleed out. Another pause. "They have your name, Claire. Your address. Your schedule. How long do you think it will take them to decide your valuable leverage?" My legs feel weak. I sink back onto my bed. This is insane. This is my world, and unfortunately, you're now part of it. I didn't ask to be part of anything. I was just doing my job. I know. Which is why I'm offering you protection, not leaving you to fend for yourself. His voice softens slightly. "I don't make a habit of endangering innocent people, Miss Mitchell. But I also don't make a habit of letting Volkov's people use innocence against me. You have 2 choices. Accept my protection, or take your chances that Volkov will consider you irrelevant. Those aren't choices. That's extortion. That's reality." A beat of silence. 1 hour, Claire. Pack enough for a week. My people will explain the rest." He hangs up. I stare at my phone, mind racing. This can't be happening. This can't be real. I'm a nurse, not some character in a mob movie. I don't get pulled into dangerous criminal conspiracies just for doing my job. Except apparently I do. I could run, pack my car and drive somewhere, anywhere, disappear before his men arrive. But where would I go? And for how long? And what if he's telling the truth about these Volkov people? My hands shake as I pull a duffel bag from my closet. 57 minutes later, I'm sitting on my couch with a packed bag at my feet when someone knocks. Not a normal knock, a specific pattern. 3 quick raps, pause, 2 more. Through my peephole, I see one of the men from last night, the older one with silver at his temples. He's alone, hands visible, no visible weapons. I open the door with the chain still on. "Who are you?" "Marcus Rossi. I work for Mr. Caruso." His voice is gravelly, New York accent thick. "You ready? Do I have a choice?" His expression softens slightly. "Not a good one, no. But I promise you, Miss Mitchell, You're safer with us than without us right now. I unlock the chain and open the door. Marcus takes my bag, surprisingly gentle about it, and gestures toward the stairs. Cars out front. We'll take a route to make sure we're not followed. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. That's not an answer, but apparently it's all I'm getting. The car is different from last night, a black Mercedes with tinted windows. Another man sits in the driver's seat, younger, with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow. He nods at me in the rearview mirror but doesn't speak. Marcus slides in beside me. Put this on. He hands me a blindfold. Absolutely not. Mr. Caruso's residence location is confidential. Security protocol. And if I refuse? Then we sit here until you change your mind. Marcus's voice is patient but firm. Look, I get it. This is scary. But Mr. Caruso takes his privacy seriously. And right now, that privacy is also your protection. Once we're there, once you understand the situation better, things will make more sense. I stare at the blindfold, every instinct screaming at me to run. But I think about unknown men named Volkov, about being leveraged, about how easily Dante found my address and phone number. I put on the blindfold. The drive takes forever or no time at all. I lose track after so many turns. The smooth hum of expensive tires on asphalt my only constant. Marcus doesn't speak, but I can feel his presence beside me, alert and watchful. When we finally stop, I hear a gate opening, the sound of gravel under tires, then silence. You can take it off now. I pull off the blindfold and blink in the afternoon sunlight. We're in a circular driveway in front of a house that makes house seem like an inadequate word. It's a mansion, 3 stories of glass and stone that manages to look both modern and timeless. Perfectly manicured grounds stretch in every direction, and I can see what looks like a high-security fence in the distance, disguised by strategic landscaping. Welcome to Mr. Caruso's home, Marcus says, opening my door. He's waiting for you inside. I step out on shaky legs. How many people live here? Just Mr. Caruso and the staff, though right now there's extra security, given the circumstances. He leads me up wide stone steps to a front door that opens before we reach it. A woman in her 50s, elegantly dressed, stands in the entrance. Her expression is warm but assessing. Miss Mitchell, welcome. I'm Teresa, Mr. Caruso's housekeeper. Please, come in. The interior is just as impressive as the exterior. Soaring ceilings, museum-quality art on the walls, furnishings that whisper old money rather than scream new wealth. It's beautiful in an intimidating way. Mr. Caruso is in his study, Teresa says. Marcus, you know the way. Marcus leads me through a series of rooms, each more elegant than the last, until we reach a heavy wooden door. He knocks twice. Enter. Dante sits behind a massive desk, laptop open before him, phone to his ear. He's speaking in rapid Italian, his tone clipped and authoritative. When he sees me, he ends the call without a preamble. Miss Mitchell, thank you for coming. You didn't give me much choice. He stands, and I notice he's moving more carefully than last night. The injuries are catching up with him. Good. Please, sit. He gestures to a leather chair across from his desk. I remain standing. I want to know exactly what's going on. No vague threats, no cryptic warnings. The truth. Something like respect flickers in his eyes. Fair enough. He comes around the desk, leaning against. Konstantin Volkov runs a rival organization. Russian mob, if you want to be crude about it. We've been in a territorial dispute for the past 6 months. Last night, that dispute turned violent. The knife wounds. 3 of Volkov's men cornered me at a meeting that was supposed to be neutral ground. They violated protocol, which means they're escalating. His jaw tightens. I dealt with the immediate threat, but not before they got footage of me leaving in distress and heading to Mercy Hospital. My blood runs cold. Footage? Security cameras they had positioned outside the building. They would have followed me inside, but my men created a distraction. Still, they know I received treatment. His eyes meet mine. And hospitals keep records, Miss Mitchell. Visitor logs, staff schedules, camera footage. It wouldn't take much for Volkov's people to identify the nurse who treated me in Trauma Bay 3. So you brought me here to what? Hide me? To protect you. There's a difference. Not from where I'm standing. He studies me for a long moment. You're angry. I'm terrified. I correct. And furious. I was just doing my job. I didn't ask to be dragged into some mob war. I know, which is why I'm taking responsibility for your safety. He moves to a sideboard and pours 2 glasses of amber liquid. Offer me one. This situation is temporary. A week, maybe 2, until we resolve things with Volkov. Then you can go back to your life. And if you don't resolve things in 2 weeks, then we adjust accordingly. I take the glass, more to have something to hold than because I want to drink. What does resolve mean exactly? It means I make it clear that you're under my protection, that touching you would be a declaration of war Volkov can't afford. Dante takes a slow sip. Or it means Volkov makes a move, I respond, and the situation concludes one way or another. You mean people die? I mean the threat is neutralized. How that happens depends on Volkov's choices. The casual way he discusses violence makes me feel sick, but there's also a strange sort of honesty to it. He's not pretending to be something he's not dressing up murder in euphemisms. I need to call the hospital, I say. Tell them I can't come in. Already done. You're on emergency leave due to a family situation. Paid, of course. Of course. I set down my untouched drink. You've thought of everything. That's how I stay alive. A knock at the door interrupts us. Marcus enters without waiting for permission. Boss, we've got a problem. Dante's entire demeanor changes, hardening into something cold and focused. What kind of problem? Volkov's people hit your restaurant in Brooklyn. 3 injured, 1 critical. Enzo's at the hospital now. Dante's hand tightens on his glass, but his voice remains level. Casualties on their side? 2 dead, 1 captured. Where's the survivor? Warehouse on the pier, waiting for your orders. Dante nods once. Tell Enzo I'll be there within the hour. And Marcus, double the security here. I don't want Miss Mitchell left alone for a second. Yes, boss. After Marcus leaves, Dante turns to me. I need to handle this situation. The wounded man, I hear myself say. The critical one. What hospital? Brooklyn Methodist. Why? Because I'm a nurse, and if someone's life is in danger, I should be helping. His eyebrows rise. You want to treat someone from my organization? I want to treat someone who's injured. That's what I do. I meet his eyes. Unless you'd prefer I sit here feeling useless and terrified while you go do whatever violent thing you're planning with that captured guy? If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Dante studies me for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he smiles. You're not what I expected, Claire Mitchell. Yeah, well, you're not what I expected either. Though I'm not sure what I expected from a mob boss. Come on, he says, moving toward the door. We'll check on Enzo together. But you stay beside me at all times, and you do exactly what I say. Understood? Understood. The drive to Brooklyn Methodist is tense and silent. Dante's in the back of the Mercedes with me, making calls in rapid Italian, his expression growing darker with each one. I catch enough to understand that the restaurant attack was coordinated, designed to draw him out. Is this normal? I ask when he ends another call. This level of violence? No. Volkov's usually more subtle. Dante's jaw clenches. This is a message. He's trying to provoke me into making a mistake. Will it work? He looks at me, something dangerous glinting in his dark eyes. That depends on how intelligent he thinks I am. At the hospital, we're directed to the ICU, where Enzo, a man who can't be more than 25, lies unconscious and intubated. His chart shows multiple gunshot wounds, one having nicked his pulmonary artery. He's lucky to be alive. The surgeon, Dr. Park, looks exhausted. We've stabilized him, but the next 48 hours are critical. If he survives that, he's got a decent chance. Can I see the wound sites? I ask before I can stop myself. Dr. Park looks at Dante, who nods. She pulls back the sheet to show me the surgical dressings. I examine them with a critical eye, checking for signs of bleeding or infection. The chest tube placement is good, I say, more to myself than anyone else. And the abdominal wound looks clean. You did excellent work, doctor. Park, you're a nurse? She asks. ER nurse at Mercy. I've seen my share of GSWs. Then you know how lucky this kid is. Dr. Park replaces the sheet gently. 1/2 inch to the left, and we wouldn't have been able to save him. Dante hasn't moved from the doorway, but I can feel his attention on me. When Dr. Park leaves to check on other patients, he steps closer to the bed. Enzo's been with me since he was 16, Dante says quietly. His father worked for mine. Good man. Loyal. When his father died, I took Enzo in. Taught him the business. The family business, I say, unable to keep the edge out of my voice. Yes. No apology in his tone. He knew what he was signing up for. Did he? I look at the young man, so still and pale against the white sheets. He's barely more than a kid. He's 24. That's not a kid in my world. No, I suppose it's not. We stand in silence for a moment, watching the monitors beep and whir. Then Dante's phone buzzes. He reads the message, and his expression hardens. We need to go. Why? What happened? The man we captured is talking, and what he's saying, you need to hear. Back at the mansion, Marcus leads us to a room I haven't seen before. It's in the basement, windowless and soundproofed, with concrete walls and a single chair bolted to the floor. A man sits in that chair, hands zip-tied behind his back, face bloodied and swollen. I stop in the doorway. No, I'm not watching this. You don't have to watch, Dante says, his voice colder than I've heard it. But you need to hear, because what he has to say concerns you directly. He nods to Marcus, who grabs the man's hair and forces his head up. Tell Miss Mitchell what you told us. The man spits blood, then rasps out words in accented English. Volkov knows about her. The nurse says she's Caruso's weakness now. Says he'll take her, make Caruso watch while he breaks off, his eyes sliding to me with something like pity. My stomach turns to ice. Finish, Dante commands, his voice like a blade. He'll hurt her, bad. Make you choose between giving up your territory or watching her suffer. The man's head drops. I'm sorry, miss. I don't want to be part of this, but Volkov doesn't give us choices. Dante jerks his head, and Marcus escorts me out of the room. I'm shaking so hard my teeth chatter. Marcus leads me to a sitting room and gently pushes me into a chair. Breathe, he says, not unkindly. In through your nose, out through your mouth. I follow his instructions, trying not to throw up. He's going to kill that man. Probably. Doesn't that bother you? Marcus is quiet for a moment. That man participated in an attack that nearly killed Enzo. He knew what Volkov planned for you, and he was willing to help make it happen. Does it bother me that he'll face consequences? He shakes his head. No, Miss Mitchell, it doesn't. 15 minutes later, Dante emerges. His hands are clean, his clothes unmarked, but there's something in his eyes that makes me look away. Is he? I can't finish the question. He's alive. Barely. Dante pours himself a drink from a crystal decanter. He'll be delivered to a hospital with an anonymous tip to the police. What happens after that is up to him. That's merciful of you. Don't mistake pragmatism for mercy. He's more useful to me alive, as a message. To Volkov's other men, that cooperation has benefits. He takes a long drink, but make no mistake, Claire. If he'd been higher in the organization, if he'd actually hurt Enzo or anyone else under my protection, that room would have ended very differently. I stand on shaky legs. I need to lie down. Teresa will show you to your room. It's in the east wing, overlooking the gardens. You'll be comfortable there. Comfortable, I repeat numbly. Right. As I reach the door, he calls my name. I turn back. I meant what I said earlier, Dante says, his eyes meeting mine. You're under my protection now. That means something in my world. It means I will do whatever necessary to keep you safe. Do you understand? I understand that I'm a prisoner. No. He sets down his glass. Prisoners don't have choices. You do. You can hide in your room. You can help with Enzo's recovery when he comes home. You can read in the library or swim in the pool or curse my name to the walls. What you can't do is leave. Not until Volkov is no longer a threat. And when will that be? Soon. Something dark and final enters his voice. Very soon. My room turns out to be a suite larger than my entire apartment, with a king-size bed that looks like it belongs in a luxury hotel, a sitting area with a fireplace, and an ensuite bathroom with a tub big enough to swim in. French doors open onto a private balcony overlooking gardens that could grace a magazine spread. It's beautiful. It's also a cage. I don't see Dante for the rest of that day, or all of the next. Teresa brings meals on silver trays, always with an apologetic smile. Mr. Caruso is handling business matters. He asks that you make yourself at home. On the third day, restless and bored and still terrified, I venture out of my room. Marcus appears within seconds, falling into step beside me. Going somewhere, Miss Mitchell? Just exploring my prison. You're not a prisoner. Then I can leave? He doesn't answer, which is answer enough. I wander through the mansion, taking in the art, the architecture, the sheer wealth on display. It's like a museum where someone happens to live. In the library, I find floor-to-ceiling shelves filled with books in multiple languages. I pull down a medical text, surprised to find it recent and well-thumbed. Mr. Caruso reads widely. Teresa says from the doorway, making me jump. Everything from philosophy to military strategy to medicine. He says knowledge is the only currency that never devalues. Is he always this dramatic? Teresa's lips twitch. You should hear some of his other sayings. My favorite is, sentimentality is a luxury that gets people killed. Her expression softens. But between you and me, Miss Mitchell, he's more sentimental than he'd ever admit. He just hides it well. Why are you telling me this? Because you're frightened, and you should be. But you should also know that you're safer here than anywhere else in this city right now. She moves closer. Mr. Caruso keeps his promises. If he says he'll protect you, he will, even if it costs him everything. Before I can respond, Marcus appears in the doorway. Miss Mitchell, Mr. Caruso requests your presence in his study. My heart jumps. Why? He didn't say, but he seemed. Marcus pauses, pleased about something. I follow Marcus through the familiar route to Dante's study. He's on the phone again, but this time his expression is satisfied rather than grim. When he sees me, he ends the call. Good news, he says. Enzo's being discharged tomorrow. He'll recover here, which means I'll need your expertise. You want me to be his nurse? I want you to do what you do best. Take care of someone who needs help. He stands, coming around the desk. But there's more. Volkov has requested a meeting. Neutral ground, both sides unarmed, to discuss terms. Terms? For ending this war before it truly begins. He's lost men, I've lost men, and we're both bleeding money keeping our organizations on high alert. Dante's smile is predatory. Turns out violence is bad for business. Who knew? So you're going to negotiate? I'm going to listen to what he has to say, and then I'm going to make him understand, very clearly, that you are off limits. That this entire situation ends now, tonight, or I will dedicate every resource I have to destroying him. The intensity in his voice makes my breath catch. Why? Why what? Why does protecting me matter so much? You barely know me. I'm nobody. He moves closer, close enough that I have to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. You saved my life, Claire. In my world, that creates a bond. A debt, and I pay my debts. That's all this is? Debt? Something shifts in his expression. Ask me that again in a week. The meeting is set for midnight at a restaurant Dante owns in Manhattan, closed for the evening with only security present. I'm not allowed to attend, but Marcus updates me via text every 30 minutes. 11:47 p.m. Volkov arrived. 4 men with him. 12:15 a.m. Talking. Hard to read. 12:52 a.m. Boss just made an offer. Volkov considered. 1:23 a.m. Deal struck. Coming home. When Dante returns at nearly 2 in the morning, I'm still awake, curled up in a chair in the library. He finds me there, somehow knowing exactly where I'd be. It's done, he says simply. Volkov has agreed to leave you alone. In exchange, I've ceded 2 shipping routes and agreed to mediate a dispute he's having with another family. I set down my book. That sounds like it will cost you a lot. A few million in potential revenue. Nothing I can't absorb. He pours himself a drink from the bar cart. You're safe, Claire. Truly safe. Volkov gave his word in front of witnesses. Breaking it would mean war with multiple families, not just mine. So I can go home. Tomorrow, if you wish. Marcus will ensure no one is watching your apartment. He takes a slow sip. Or you could stay. Help with Enzo's recovery. Get used to the idea of being my personal physician. I stare at him. You're what? The title personal doctor seemed too formal. But the offer is real. He sets down his glass. You're skilled, Claire. More than that, you're someone I can trust. In my world, that's rarer than diamonds. I need someone who can treat injuries without questions, without records, without judgment. And in exchange, I'll pay you triple what you make at the hospital. Full benefits, complete protection, and the knowledge that you're helping people who have nowhere else to turn. You mean helping criminals? I mean helping people. His gaze is steady. Not everyone in my organization is there by choice. Some, like Enzo, grew up in this life. Others had debts, or family obligations, or simply nowhere else to go. They deserve medical care as much as anyone. And if I refuse? Then you go home tomorrow with my thanks and my continued protection. No strings, no obligations. He moves to the window, looking out at the dark gardens. But I think you're not ready to go back to that life yet. I think you felt something these past few days. Purpose, maybe. Or usefulness. Or the satisfaction of knowing you're making a real difference in people's lives. He's right, and I hate that he's right. Working at Mercy, I help people. But I also deal with insurance companies and bureaucracy, and patients who treat nurses like servants. Here, in this strange gilded cage, I've felt needed in a way I haven't since medical school. I need to think about it, I say finally. Fair enough. He turns back to me. You have until Enzo arrives tomorrow. After that, I'll need an answer. As I head back to my room, exhausted and confused and more conflicted than I've ever been, I pass a mirror in the hallway. The woman looking back at me isn't the same one who walked into Trauma Bay 5 days ago. That woman was tired, defeated, going through the motions of a life that felt increasingly meaningless. This woman has fire in her eyes. Fear, yes, but also determination. Curiosity, something that might be excitement. And as I climb into the enormous bed in my beautiful cage, I realize that Dante Caruso might have just offered me exactly what I've been searching for since I dropped out of medical school. A reason to care again. Enzo arrives the next afternoon in a medical transport, still weak but conscious. His dark eyes find me as Marcus and another guard help him inside, and he manages a small smile. You're the angel from the hospital, he says, his voice rough from the breathing tube. Boss said you were pretty, but he undersold it. Despite everything, I feel my lips twitch. Save your energy for healing, not for flirting. Can't help it. It's in my DNA. I've set up one of the first-floor guest rooms as a makeshift medical suite, complete with monitors borrowed from God knows where, and enough supplies to run a small clinic. Dante spared no expense, and I didn't ask where he got half of this equipment. Over the next week, I fall into a routine. Mornings with Enzo, checking his vitals, changing dressings, monitoring for infection. Afternoons in the library or gardens, trying to process my new reality. Evenings with Dante, who appears for dinner like clockwork, asking about Enzo's progress, discussing everything from philosophy to the absurdity of hospital bureaucracy. He never pressures me for an answer about his offer, never mentions it at all, actually, but it hangs between us like a question waiting to be asked. You're good at this, Enzo says on day 5, watching me change his chest tube dressing with practiced efficiency. The nursing thing. You got that gentle touch, but also, you know what you're doing. Not tentative. I went to medical school for 3 years before I dropped out. I know my way around a wound. Why'd you drop out? I pause, tape in hand. No one's asked me that in a long time. Most people just assume I failed or couldn't hack it. My fiancé died. Car accident. After that, I couldn't seem to care about anything anymore. Dropped out. Finished nursing school instead, because it was easier. Less commitment. I'm sorry. Enzo's voice is genuine. That's rough. Yeah, I finished securing the dressing, but you learn to live with it. The grief becomes part of you, like a scar that aches when it rains. Boss lost someone too. His wife, Maria. Cancer. About 5 years ago. Enzo shifts carefully. He was different before. Lighter, you know? After she died, he got harder. Colder. Like he decided caring too much was dangerous. I think about Dante's controlled demeanor. The way he keeps everyone at arm's length even as he protects them fiercely. Why are you telling me this? Because he's different around you. Not much, but enough that we've all noticed. Enzo grins. And because I'm bored and gossiping is entertaining. You're impossible. That's what they tell me. That evening, Dante finds me on the terrace, watching the sun set over the gardens. He's shed his usual suit for dark jeans and a simple black shirt, and the casual look makes him seem younger, more approachable. "Enzo says you're a miracle worker," he says, joining me at the railing. His recovery is ahead of schedule. He's young and strong. He's doing the work himself. "Don't diminish your role." Dante hands me a glass of wine. "You've been here a week. Have you made a decision?" There it is. The question I've been avoiding. If I say yes, I begin slowly. What exactly would that look like? Day to day? You'd live here, in the guest suite, or in your own apartment if you prefer. Your primary responsibility would be to my people, anyone who needs medical attention that can't go through normal channels. Some days that might be a sprained ankle. Other days, he trails off meaningfully, gunshot wounds and stab wounds, yes. But also chronic conditions that need managing, preventive care, things that get ignored when you live in the shadows. He takes a sip of wine. "You'd be saving lives, Claire. Real lives of people who have nowhere else to turn. And I'd be enabling criminals. You'd be providing healthcare to human beings. What they do for a living doesn't change their right to medical care. I can't argue with that logic, even though I want to. What about my life? My apartment? My friends? Keep them. You're not a prisoner, despite what you think. You can come and go as you please, within reason. Take days off. Visit your old colleagues. Maintain whatever life you want outside these walls." His eyes meet mine. "I'm offering you employment, Claire. Unusual employment, certainly, but employment nonetheless, not ownership. And if I want to leave eventually, find something else, then you leave. Though I'd ask for notice to find a replacement." A slight smile. "I'm not a monster, despite what the newspapers say." I turn back to the sunset, the sky painted in shades of orange and pink. "You know what's crazy? I'm actually considering this. A week ago, I would have called myself insane. Now you've seen that my world isn't black and white. Now I've seen that I was sleepwalking through my old life. Going through the motions, pretending to care, but really just existing." I grip the railing. "When I was treating Enzo, checking his wounds, monitoring his recovery, I felt something I haven't felt in 3 years. Purpose. The sense that what I was doing actually mattered. It did matter. It does matter." Dante moves closer. Not touching, but near enough that I can feel his warmth. "You have a gift, Claire. Not just skill, but compassion. The ability to see past what people are to who they are. That's rare. And in my world, it's revolutionary." I laugh shakily. Revolutionary is a strong word for basic human decency. In a world built on fear and violence, decency is revolutionary. We stand in silence, watching the last rays of sunlight fade. Finally, I turn to him. "Okay." His eyebrows rise. "Okay? Okay, I'll stay. I'll be your personal physician, or whatever title you want to use. But I have conditions. Name them. First, I need autonomy over medical decisions. If I say someone needs a hospital, they go to a hospital. No arguments." "Agreed." "Second, I won't participate in violence. I'll treat injuries, but I won't be in the room when you're questioning people or whatever euphemism you use for torture." "Understood. And for the record, I don't torture." "Interrogate, yes. Torture, no. There's a difference." "Third, if I see someone being mistreated, if I think you're crossing a line, I'm going to say something. And you're going to listen." He studies me for a long moment. "You're asking me to give you the right to challenge my decisions. I'm asking you to give me the respect of an equal partner in this arrangement. Otherwise, I'm just an employee who patches people up and keeps her mouth shut." Dante extends his hand. "Equal partner, you have my word." I shake his hand, and the contact sends that familiar electric shock up my arm. His fingers linger on mine for just a moment longer than necessary before he releases me. "Welcome to the family, Doctor." "Mitchell, I'm not a doctor. You are to me." The next 3 weeks pass in a blur of unexpected normalcy. I treat Enzo daily as he continues to improve, but I also see others. A security guard with high blood pressure who hasn't seen a doctor in 5 years. A young woman from Dante's restaurant with a suspicious mole that I insist gets biopsied. An older man with diabetes who's been managing it badly with black market insulin. I set up a weekly clinic in one of the mansion's unused rooms, and word spreads. People start coming. People from Dante's organization, but also their families. kids with ear infections, pregnant women who can't afford prenatal care, elderly relatives with arthritis and heart conditions. I'm not just treating criminals. I'm treating a community that's been shut out of the regular healthcare system. You've seen 43 people in 3 weeks, Dante says one evening, reviewing the records I've been keeping. That's more than I anticipated. People need help. I'm helping them. I make a note in a patient file. But I need to talk to you about something. What? That pregnant woman, Sophia. She's high-risk history of preeclampsia. She needs regular monitoring and probably a hospital birth. But she's undocumented, terrified of being deported if she goes to a hospital. Dante sets down the records. What do you need? A way to get her care without putting her in danger. Can you? I don't know. Do you have contacts who can help with that? I'll make some calls. She'll be taken care of. Just like that? Just like that. He stands, moving to pour himself a drink. This is what I do, Claire. I help people who fall through the cracks. Sometimes that means criminal enterprise. Sometimes it means making phone calls to immigration lawyers. The lines aren't as clear as you think. I'm beginning to understand that. Nothing about Dante is what I expected. Yes, he's dangerous. Yes, he operates outside the law. But he also has a code, a sense of honor that governs his actions. And he's changed my life in ways I'm only starting to comprehend. I need to show you something, he says suddenly. If you're going to be part of this family, really part of it, you need to understand where I come from. He leads me to a room I haven't been in before. A private office with photographs lining the walls. His father, stern and imposing in black and white. His mother, beautiful and sad-eyed. And Maria, his late wife, smiling in candid shots that capture her warmth. My father built this organization through violence and fear, Dante says, stopping before a photo of himself as a young man standing beside his father. He was respected, but he was also hated. When he died, there were celebrations in the streets. How did he die? Heart attack. Fitting, considering he didn't have one. Dante moves to a photo of Maria. I was determined to be different. To build something sustainable, something that could exist without constant warfare. Maria supported that vision. She believed people could change, that organizations could evolve. And after she died, I almost lost sight of it. Almost became my father. His jaw tightens. I was angry, grieving, and anger in my position is dangerous. I made decisions I'm not proud of, hurt people who didn't deserve it. It took my consigliere, Marcus, literally shaking me one night and telling me I was dishonoring Maria's memory to snap me out of it. He turns to face me. I'm telling you this because you need to understand. I'm not a good man trying to do bad things. I'm a bad man trying to do better. And some days, I fail at that. Some days, the violence and the darkness win. But you keep trying. I keep trying. He reaches out, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. The gesture is so gentle it makes my breath catch. You make it easier. Having you here, seeing the good you do, the lives you save. It reminds me why I'm fighting to be different. Dante. I don't know what I'm going to say. Don't know if I'm going to step closer or step back. The decision is made for me when Marcus bursts through the door, his expression grim. Boss, we have a problem. Volkov's dead. Dante goes very still. What? Murdered in his home 2 hours ago. Execution style. Marcus's eyes flick to me, then back to Dante. And they left a message. Written in his blood on the wall. It says, Caruso's mercy is weakness. Real power takes what it wants. My blood runs cold. What does that mean? It means someone's trying to start a war. Dante's voice is deadly calm. And they're using Volkov's death to frame me for it. Who would do that? Someone who wants to see my organization destroyed. Someone who thinks I've gone soft. Dante turns to Marcus. Call everyone. Full lockdown. And get Vincent and Antonio here now. We need to figure out who's behind this before the Russians decide to retaliate. Boss, there's more. Marcus looks uncomfortable. The message. It mentioned the nurse. Said Caruso's too distracted, protecting her to see the knife coming. Dante's entire body tenses. Claire, go to your room. Now. What? No, I'm not. That wasn't a request. His eyes meet mine, and for the first time since I've known him, I see genuine fear there. Someone just murdered Volkov and implicated both of us. You're not safe. Go to your room, lock the door, and don't open it for anyone but me or Marcus. Do you understand? The intensity in his voice cuts through my protests. I nod mutely and follow Marcus out, my heart hammering. Behind us, I hear Dante making phone calls, his voice switching between English and Italian, each word clipped and controlled. But in my room, locked and safe, all I can think about is that message written in blood. Someone wants to destroy Dante, and they're going to use me to do it. The next 48 hours are chaos barely contained. The mansion fills with men in dark suits, all speaking in hushed, urgent tones. I'm confined to my wing for safety, with 2 guards stationed outside my door at all times. Enzo, recovered enough to be mobile, keeps me updated via text. Boss thinks it's an internal move. Someone in his own organization. 3 suspects, all being questioned. Russians are demanding proof. Caruso didn't order the hit. Clock's ticking. On the second night, Dante finally appears at my door. He looks exhausted, his shirt wrinkled, dark circles under his eyes. But there's a hardness to him I haven't seen before, a cold fury barely leashed. "We found him," he says without preamble. "The one who killed Volkov." "Who?" "My cousin, Rico." The bitterness in his voice is palpable. He's been working with a faction that wants to go back to the old ways. More violence, more territory, more fear. They saw my peace with Volkov as a weakness, saw you as a distraction. "What are you going to do?" "What I have to do." His eyes meet mine. He killed an unarmed man in his home, Claire. Killed him to start a war that will cost hundreds of lives. There's only one response to that. I understand what he's not saying. "You're going to kill him. I'm going to execute him for treason against the family. It's not the same thing, isn't it?" "No." He steps into the room, closing the door behind him. Killing is easy. Execution is justice. He knew the rules, he broke them, and now he faces the consequences. If I show mercy, if I let this slide, it tells everyone that they can challenge me without repercussions. And that starts a war anyway. I wrap my arms around myself. So there's no good choice. Welcome to my world. He moves to the window, looking out at the moonlit gardens. I wanted to tell you myself before it happens. Wanted to give you the chance to leave if this is too much. I'll understand if it is. I should leave. Should walk out that door and never look back. This isn't my world, isn't my fight. But I think about the 43 people I've treated. About Sophia, who's getting prenatal care now because Dante made phone calls. About Enzo, who would have died in that hospital without proper home care. About all the people who depend on Dante's protection, his organization, his code of honor. If he falls, what happens to them? "I'm not leaving," I hear myself say. He turns, surprise evident on his face. "Claire, I'm not leaving." I repeat more firmly. "You said I was part of this family now. That means I don't run when things get hard." I move closer to him. "But I need to say something, and you need to listen." "I'm listening." "Don't become the thing you hate. Don't let this situation turn you into your father." I take his hand, feeling the calluses, the strength, the tremor of barely controlled rage. "Do what you have to do, but do it with honor. Make it quick. Make it clean. And then come back to yourself. To the man who's trying to be better." For a long moment, he just stares at our joined hands. Then he pulls me into an embrace so sudden and fierce it steals my breath. "How did I find you?" he whispers into my hair. "How did a chance meeting in an ER lead to this?" I wrap my arms around him, feeling his heart hammer against my chest. Maybe some things are just meant to be. I don't believe in fate, neither do I, but I'm starting to believe in choices. And I choose to stay. He pulls back just enough to look at me, his hand cupping my face. "This is the last chance to change your mind. After tonight, after what I'm about to do, there's no pretending I'm anything other than what I am. I already know what you are." I meet his eyes steadily. "And I'm staying anyway." Something shifts in his expression. The cold fury softens, replaced by something warmer, something that makes my pulse quicken. His thumb traces my lower lip, his eyes following the movement with an intensity that makes breathing difficult. "Claire," he says, my name a rough whisper. "If I kiss you right now, there's no going back. You understand that? I understand. He kisses me, and it's nothing like I expected. Not aggressive or demanding, but careful, almost reverent, like I'm something precious that might break. His hands frame my face, his lips moving against mine with a tenderness that makes my eyes sting with unexpected tears. When we break apart, both breathing heavily, he rests his forehead against mine. "Don't leave," he whispers. "Promise me, whatever happens tonight, you'll be here when I get back." I promise. He kisses me once more, brief and fierce, then he's gone. I sit on my bed, touching my lips, wondering what I've just done, what line I've just crossed. Outside my window, I see Dante and several men loading into cars, driving away into the night to do something terrible and necessary, and I wait. He returns at dawn, and I know immediately that it's done. He stands in my doorway, still dressed in the same clothes, but there's blood on his hands. Not much, just a few spatters, but enough. "Come with me," I say softly, taking his hand and leading him to my bathroom. I turn on the water and guide his hands under the stream, washing away the blood with gentle, methodical movements. He watches me silently, his expression unreadable. "Do you want to talk about it?" I ask. "No. Okay." I dry his hands with a towel, then lead him to sit on the edge of my bed. He sinks down heavily, exhaustion and something darker weighing on him. "It had to be done," he says, staring at his clean hands. "He would have killed dozens, started a war that would have destroyed everything I've built." I know, but that doesn't make it easier. He was family. I taught him to ride a bike when he was 7. His voice cracks slightly. And tonight I put a bullet in his head. I sit beside him, taking his hand again. "Tell me about him." The 7-year-old version, before everything went wrong. So he does. He talks for an hour, maybe more, about a boy who wanted to be like his older cousin, who looked up to Dante with hero worship in his eyes. About how that boy grew into a man who resented living in Dante's shadow, who wanted power and respect without earning it. "I failed him," Dante says finally. "Somewhere along the way, I failed to show him another path. No, he made his choices. We all do." I squeeze his hand. "You can't save everyone, Dante. Sometimes people are determined to destroy themselves, and all you can do is make sure they don't take others with them." He looks at me, really looks at me, and I see the weight of what he's done, what he is, what he'll continue to be. And I see the man underneath all of that, the one trying so hard to be better than his father, than his world, than the violence that raised him. "Stay with me," he says quietly, "just until I fall asleep. I don't want to be alone right now. I should say no, should maintain boundaries, should remember that he's my employer and a criminal, and a man who just killed someone. Instead, I lie down beside him, his arm wrapping around me, my head on his chest. His heartbeat is steady beneath my ear, and his breathing slowly evens out as exhaustion claims him. I stay awake, watching the sunrise paint the room in shades of gold, and I wonder how I got here. How a chance encounter with a wounded man in an ER led to this moment, lying in the arms of a mob boss who's somehow become the most important person in my life. It should terrify me. It does terrify me. But it also feels right in a way nothing has felt right in 3 years. And as Dante's breathing deepens into sleep, his arm tightening around me, I realize something profound. Somewhere in the past month, Dante Caruso stopped being the dangerous man I stitched up and became someone I might be falling in love with. 6 months later, the community clinic is packed today. We moved operations to a larger space in Brooklyn, a building Dante owns that was sitting empty. Now it's a full medical facility, open 3 days a week, staffed by me and 2 other nurses who don't ask questions about where the funding comes from. "Miss Claire, Nina's running a fever again." Mrs. Rodriguez holds her daughter, worry evident in her eyes. I examine the 5-year-old, checking her ears and throat. "Ear infection, but we caught it early. I'll write a prescription. Thank you. Thank you. You're an angel." "I'm not an angel. I'm just a woman who found her purpose in the most unexpected place." Enzo appears in the doorway as I'm finishing up with my last patient. He's been working security for the clinic, though mostly he just flirts with patients and makes kids laugh with terrible magic tricks. "Boss is here," he says with a knowing grin, looking all intense and romantic. "You two are disgusting, by the way. Happiness looks good on you, though." I feel my face heat. Dante and I have been together for 4 months now, though we've kept it quiet. Not a secret, exactly, but private. His world is dangerous enough without adding relationship drama to it. He's waiting in my office, perched on the edge of my desk in an expensive suit that contrasts sharply with the clinic's utilitarian space. But he looks at home here, relaxed in a way he rarely is at the mansion. "How was your day?" I ask, closing the door behind me. "Tedious. Negotiations with a shipping company that's trying to overcharge by 40%. He pulls me close, kissing me slowly. "How was yours?" "Busy. I saw 30 patients today, including twins with chickenpox and an elderly man with heart arrhythmia I'm sending to the hospital. Always saving lives." His hands rest on my hips, his thumb tracing small circles through my scrubs. "I have something for you. Dante, we talked about this. No more expensive gifts." "It's not expensive." "Well, not very expensive. And you need it." He hands me an envelope. Inside is a letter from the New York Medical Board, informing me that my application to re-enter medical school has been reviewed and approved for the accelerated program. I stare at it, my eyes burning with unexpected tears. "How did you—" "You mentioned once, months ago, that you wished you'd finished your degree. That you regretted letting grief steal that dream." He takes my hands. "So I made some calls. The accelerated program is designed for nurses with your experience. You could have your MD in 3 years while still running the clinic. Dante, I can't afford this. You don't have to. Consider it a business investment." Dr. Mitchell sounds much more impressive than Nurse Mitchell when we're dealing with officials. His expression turns serious. "But really, Claire, you deserve this. You're brilliant and compassionate, and you've built something incredible here. Finish what you started. Be who you were meant to be." I launch myself at him, wrapping my arms around his neck. He catches me easily, laughing against my hair. "Is that a yes?" "That's a yes, you impossible man." He kisses me, deep and thorough, and I taste promise in it, a future I never imagined. A life that's mine by choice, not circumstance. "I love you," I say against his lips, the words I've been holding back for weeks, finally breaking free. "I know it's complicated and probably insane, but I love you." His arms tighten around me. "It's not insane. Or maybe it is, but I don't care." He pulls back just enough to meet my eyes. "I love you, Claire Mitchell. I loved you from the moment you stood between me and my guards without a hint of fear. I just didn't know it yet. We're a mess. We're perfect. 3 years ago, I walked into a trauma bay and stitched up a wounded man, unaware that he would become my patient, my employer, my protector, and eventually, the love of my life. I treated his wounds that night, but in every way that matters, he healed mine too. Epilogue: 2 years later, I'm in my 3rd year of medical school when Dante proposes. Not with a fancy dinner or a public display. Just the two of us in the clinic after hours, surrounded by the work we've built together. "Marry me," he says, holding out a simple gold band. "Not because you have to, not because it's expected, but because I want to spend the rest of my life with the woman who saw past the monster everyone warned her about." I look at the ring, at the man holding it, at the clinic surrounding us. This is my life now. Medical school by day, treating Dante's people and underserved communities by night. Loving a man who walks the line between darkness and light. It's not the life I planned. It's better. "Yes," I say, sliding the ring onto my finger. "Yes, I'll marry you." He pulls me close, and I can feel his heart beating against mine, steady and strong. 2 years ago, I treated his wounds in a trauma bay at midnight, unaware that the wounded Mafia boss would become my patient, my partner, and the love of my life. Sometimes the greatest love stories start in the most unlikely places, with blood on the floor and a stubborn nurse who refused to walk away. I healed his body that night, but he healed my soul. And that is the most powerful medicine of all. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.